rules. So this document was apparently seen by Politico. It emerged as Boris Johnson's crunch bill to delay the return to freedom passed through the House of Commons, winning 461 votes and 60 against. Victory was guaranteed for the government as Labour threw its backing behind the extension of the restrictions. So
the opposition Labour.
The opposition Labour providing no opposition at all. Now, what did Boris Johnson have to say about it? Well, he said this: "Nobody, least of all me, wants to see COVID restrictions last forever." And so this is typical political language. He's not denying that COVID restrictions will last forever. He's not saying COVID restrictions are not going to last forever. He's not saying that. He's saying that he doesn't want to see COVID restrictions last forever.
Yeah, he's feigning that he would be gutted if restrictions were to extend. It's like the headmaster or the parent discipline. It hurts me more than it hurts you. When they pull the paddle out, basically. I mean, this is just absolute gaslighting. It's unbelievable.
So anyway, the Politico apparently has published the fact that it's aware of this document. There was a question then raised in Parliament. So let's just ask. The question was asked of the government, and then Mark Harper, who's a Tory MP, intervened on that question. Let's have a listen to this.
I'd be interested to know if the department has developed plans for restrictions this winter and if the Secretary of State has been discussing it with Whitehall colleagues or not.
Grateful. Just on that point that the Shadow Health Secretary mentioned about those restrictions, I know that those discussions are going on because I've seen documents from within government with very detailed suggestions about what measures may continue. So, and I asked the Secretary of State about this when he was in the Commons earlier this week, and he didn't rule out bringing in restrictions this winter, which is one of the reasons.
And so that's pretty clear. Patrick, there is conversation, there is discussion going on. There are very, very likely to be further restrictions this winter. Of course, it's all going to be based on the variant narrative, which I hope the first part of this program has given a bit of perspective on.
He said detailed plans, didn't he?
Yes.
Detailed plans. So I think it's pretty clear from that, Mike, and what you showed right before that the government is intending to re-lock down again,
yes,
as a routine in the fall, in the winter, and then they will also then ramp up whatever the new vaccine schedule is. We'll be waiting with bated breath, won't we, to find out how that's going to be.
Now, the question is, are all vaccines the same?
Well, this is the thing. Once you start getting into the enforcement of the experimental pharmaceutical injections, apparently, some injections are more equal than others. So we're getting into the pharmaceutical animal farm narrative here. And what best to illustrate Animal Farm than the bread and circuses that is mainstream highbrow entertainment. And fans who had AstraZeneca vaccines won't be allowed to see Bruce Springsteen at his coming New York concerts. We told you last week about the vaccine-only concerts by the Strokes, the Boss, Bruce Springsteen, and who else? The Foo Fighters as well. There's Bruce Springsteen. I can't imagine the amount of hate mail that he's gotten in the last couple of weeks since he's completely sold out to the pharmaceutical industry here. But so here it is, Mike. The approved jab list will be limited only to jabs approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, not licensed, mind you. Approved in emergency use authorization. Those are Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. So the experimental vaccines on the approved list. So in other words, if you've been injected in this human experiment, you will be allowed to see the Boss at Madison Square Garden, and you'll be allowed to dance in the dark, Mike. So any potential concert goers who received their Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine overseas will be left with the prospect of being turned away at the door should they book tickets. So sorry about that, but welcome to your brave new world. Mm-hmm. This is what it's going to be like. And here's the Boss again. So at the direction of New York State, that's Andrew Cuomo, Springsteen on Broadway and the St. James Theater will only be accepting proof of FDA-only COVID-19 vaccines, says the official website. So there you go, vaccine apartheid, not only in the unvaccinated and the vaccinated, but depending on which corporation you've injected your body with, which product.
Yes.
So isn't that interesting? So they're just going to keep making it up as they go along. And so what's this going to mean with Russian and Chinese vaccines? Are those going to be legitimate vaccines? I don't think so.
No.
We could have vaccine borders drawn across this world. Don't think that that is not a possibility, and don't think that that is not even being worked out right now in Brussels with their new digital wallet. They rebranded their vaccine passport.
It's not a green passport anymore.
No, they got a lot of pushback from that. So Ursula von der Leyen put her thinking helmet on, which is always on, by the way, it's blonde, and she's changed it and rebranded it to the digital wallet. So, and that's going to have your vaccine information loaded onto it, along with probably all of your other health information and medical information, Mike. So isn't that a good thing to be traveling? So wherever border you cross through, you have to show basically your whole medical and health information. It's there, along with whatever, maybe even your criminal record, your grades from school, a list of whatever drugs you're taking. What do you think?
Everything's going to be on there.
Sounds good. So
Yes.
if you're in the EU, you can look forward to that. So we're short on time. We're going to talk
We're
about
abs-
Biden. So
we're completely out of time. I'm
we
afraid.
can the Biden segment, but let me just give you in one sentence a synopsis. Joe was hardly awake during the summit, and Vladimir Putin says that him and his team had a good laugh, and it was like having the Queen Mom for scones and tea.
Good.
That's the basically. So if you want to read about it, go online. So suffice to say, we'll wrap this show up, Mike, and thank you for the extended broadcast this week. But all the stuff that we talked about, we're talking about winter lockdowns, fall lockdowns. We're trying to get ahead of the story. We're trying to get ahead of the story. This is what UK Column does. This is what 21st Century Wire does.
Right.
This is what we try to do. But so often, Mike, we don't see that in the mainstream media outlets, do we?
No.
It's not about getting ahead. It's about reacting. It's so that you follow the little bouncing ball that the mainstream media set the pace and the tone for that little bouncing ball with the lyrics of whatever childlike song that they're going to play that they want you to follow.
Right.
And so isn't that what the mainstream media does? So we don't need any more of those outlets, do we? Haven't we got enough of those already?
Well, you would think so.
But a new one's been launched, hasn't it, this week?
It has indeed, yes.
It's called GB News, and it's been marketed as the alternative to mainstream. And so this is a Twitter account called GB News Fails. It's already got 63,000 odd followers, Mike, in just a couple of days. And if you scroll down on this, you'll see that it's got, it'll go automatically. Yeah, these are all the bloopers from the last 48 hours, literally. It's like an endless stream. I have not laughed so hard, Mike, and I haven't actually watched any of their full programming, but the amount of bloopers that they're releasing, I think this is getting more traction than their actual programming. Isn't this amazing?
It's been spectacular. I've been really impressed with it.
And there's Andrew Neil himself, obviously former BBC, spent 30 years. How long at BBC? 30 years as a gatekeeper?
Yes.
At the BBC. So one might ask, what does he know about running a news channel, Mike? Well, judging by the amount of gaffes and bloopers, mind you, they're probably going to iron this out, aren't they? It'll be okay in a couple of weeks, right? So there might be less and less of these gaffes and bloopers, but
let's wait and see. I hope so.
But I can guarantee you that they're not going to get ahead of any stories that are important. They're going to wait and do what the BBC, ITV, and Channel 4 do, keep you in the dark, okay, feed you propaganda mainly, and then sort of tell you so that they can react to it, so they can get reactions, but they'll never let you get ahead. This is the problem with the mainstream media, and unfortunately, we've got another outlet doing exactly the same thing as all the other institutional outlets. So what do you expect? It's probably staffed by mostly ex-BBC people, isn't it?
Well, I don't know that, but I suspect that is the case. And I was saying to you before the program, I can't remember his name, Mark, whatever his name was, the BBC journalist that came out into the crowd at Downing Street that we were highlighting on Wednesday's program. He began that situation by looking at the microphone from GB Resistance. They saw the GB on it. He thought it was GB News, and he was very, very happy to speak to them, a BBC journalist. So, that should tell us everything we need to know about GB News, I suspect.
He treated him as friendly, right?
Correct.
Amazing,
Yes.
amazing. Well, there you go.
Okay, well, we've got to leave it there for today. Thank you very much for joining us today, Patrick. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back at the same time, 1 p.m. as usual on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend and see you then. Bye-bye.